They shoot the shit. They shoot the shit. Shoot, shit. Shooting the shit with Chippa.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Shooting the Shit with Chippa, the only show on the internet where I talk to people, at least the only show on the internet where I talk to people that aren't my brother, Movie Bob. Tonight's guest is Kurt Duncan, a Twitter friend who we've been talking back and forth and trying to get something like this going, and finally we're coming together for an episode of Shooting the Shit. So without further ado, Kurt, introduce yourself, I swear, to them for the first time tonight. We didn't forget to record this once already.
Absolutely not. We are professionals. This never happens. I am Kurt Duncan, one of the three hosts of the now dead podcast I'm the Host, where me, my wife, and a friend of ours from college would take movies and take a slightly deeper look at them. The example I always give being looking at the Back to the Future trilogy, and basically after looking through all three movies and saying, should Doc Brown be in jail? Because this man racks up a pretty substantial list of crimes throughout the trilogy. And spoilers, by the end of it, we were like, he should probably take a plea deal.
Yeah, no, he's definitely going on trial. It's a funny thing about Back to the Future is I watching it after working in the high end deep dive electromechanical field with a lot of crazy RF and scientists that have been around forever, that have been through all of the government agencies and everything. And I looked around and then I watched that movie as an adult and I think, they actually spent some time making sure all of the gear in Doc Brown's lab was legit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's not like a fake panel with fake knobs on it. It's no, I've seen one of those and that does exactly what he says it does. It's all right, that's kind of cool.
Man. I was wondering where you were taking that. It was
And also, and again, this is not the first time I've said this tonight. The time machine from Back to the Future was originally a refrigerator, which was done in Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull to Indiana Jones, the famous nuke the fridge sequence. They wrote it out of Back to the Future and replaced it with the DeLorean, so kids wouldn't watch it and go and climb into their refrigerators.
Yeah, I was going to say kids don't climb refrigerators, but then I was like, they've probably got some kind of safety feature now that's not an issue.
They do have them now. That makes me think of that Punky Brewster did an episode about that. Where the kid got stuck in the fridge and then they opened it up and the kid's lips were blue and they had to take him to the hospital, and it's like, damn. Surprised Sesame Street never did that. That's terrible.
I was thinking there'd be a song. I'm hoping they didn't put a song to it.
Oh, right. Yes. Oh, God. Today's letter is A for autoerotic asphyxiation.
Oh, no.
Oh God, no. What's Big Bird doing back there? Oh, Jesus. All right. So, the thing that I didn't forget to do, because this isn't the second time that we've recorded this tonight, is I didn't forget to do my housekeeping, so I'll do it now. I'd like to thank my $15 or more patrons: Mason, Christopher Finnick, Patricia Chipman, Hugh K. Campbell Jr., and Alex Peregrine. I'd also like to thank my new patrons: Dan Williams, Alex Peregrine, and Michael the Comics Nerd. And now I'll leave space for an advertisement for the Adventure Incorporated podcast.
My name's Gebetto Funkin, One Shoe Stumble, Knackle Timber Shivers, at your service. I'm looking for some friends of mine. The Many Pennies?
The Many Pennies. Them.
I know we've been really busy, but I think that all we need to do is just tackle the next thing on this 24-item to-do list and we'll be fine.
Someone bring me some food. Also, my flask is empty. I need a refill.
Nobody panic. I may have lost several scorpions. I said nobody panic.
Check out this new skin patch on my cloak, guys. Guys?
I might be looking for someone else.
I don't blame you. Adventure Incorporated, a Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition actual play adventure podcast. New episodes every Monday. Find us at adventureincpod.com.
And we're back. And without further ado, as I've only telling you for the first time this evening, we're going to do an icebreaker at the beginning of Right Quote Wrong Movie. And I take it you've played before, Kurt?
I have.
Okay, and just to remind the people,
briefly.
yes, to remind the people in the audience, that haven't played, Right Quote Wrong Movie is played similar to Apples to Apples or Cards Against Humanity, where we pull the title of a movie. That would be your black card, and you have a handful of movie quotes, and those would be your white cards if you were playing Cards Against Humanity. And we pick a movie title and we throw down quotes so we think could be funny or ironic or otherwise interesting if applied to that movie, but they cannot be quotes from that film. So without further ado, I will pull the first movie. And we recovered from that well.
I was going to ask, are we going to do new movies or are we doing the same ones?
We're going to do new movies. Yeah, I mean, we
Okay.
could do the same if you want. I mean, but
That's
they
fine.
wouldn't be the same because we didn't screw up because we're professionals.
Right,
Do you know that's
right.
the first time that's ever happened to me?
Hey, at least that's all you missed. I mean, we had an episode where we almost lost the entire episode because my hard drive failed right after we finished recording.
Oh, Jesus, that's terrible.
Yeah,
All
we were able to recover it. We were terrified.
So our first is The Silence of the Lambs.
Well, that's a really quick one then, because sorry, my phone's auto rotating here. I should warn you, Princess. The first time tends to get a little messy.
You had to. Oh my God, dude! Anthony Hopkins as Freddy Krueger. Why hasn't this happened?
It's an alternate reality. It's out there.
Oh, I'm not sure I can beat. That's one of my favorite quotes from that movie. Oh, what a lovely tea party.
Oh man.
Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
Yeah.
Sounds like- yours is too perfect. Yours is too perfect.
Once again, I think yours is from the sequel. It's from Hannibal when what's his name's getting his brain eaten.
Oh yeah, what's his name? The narc guy.
Yeah.
Oh, what the hell's his name?
Yeah.
I'm gonna forget.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've actually seen Hannibal, but or read the book for that matter.
Exactly right. All right, so next one is Little Mermaid.
Oh, I already used the princess card though. Oh man. Well, somebody's got to offend on this game, so whoa, monster cock from the movie Feast.
Yes.
Just because of the cover art of the VHS and the priest that everyone thinks is getting a boner, it has to be in there.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay. I'm going to go with I'm a teen idol, damn it.
Yeah, I think you got that one.
Yeah. All right. And then the third one is The Godfather Part 2.
Okay. Just because of the accent, I might have to go with, even though I know Mob is not close to Boston, but, well, I got a number. How do you like them apples?
Nice. I'm going to do no bullshit because I wasn't with a hooker today. Ha ha. How I got 3 Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back quotes in my hand, I have no idea.
Yeah, I'm thinking whoever made the game probably fixed it.
Nah. So I think you take that one.
Yeah, okay, great.
All right, so let's get into the podcast because we did lose some time at the beginning. So I don't want to, and I, would love to have you on again, but I don't want to go for too long since my wife is helping us out big time by being with my half awake daughter.
Yeah.
Anyway, so let's start this thing up. So what you been up to as of late?
When we recorded the first time, or since we didn't, I'm kind of between projects right now. But I am trying to, at the moment, I'm trying to get a Twitch channel up and going because I found a game. I'm just, speedrunning is kind of one of those things I like to watch, and it was what I did when I did at podcasts. but now I'm starting to get into it and try it out myself. And I found a game that I'm actually good at that has a bunch of categories with no records in them. So I'm getting ready to gear up to try and at least put myself on the leaderboard so I can have my own record for a while until somebody notices what I'm doing and steals it back.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What are your games of choice?
This one is Monaco, which is, I don't know if a lot of people remember. It was like a kind of an indie game from 2012, I want to say, from Pocket Watch Games. But it's basically a top-down sort of like 8-bit or 16-bit looking game where you basically try and steal everything that's not nailed down.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And, yeah, it's a load of fun, but it's I think it's simple to learn, but it doesn't seem like everybody agrees with me.
Nice.
But no, I don't know if you're into the speedrunning scene or not, but it's like I was gonna say, like, one of the great things to watch if you're ever having to edit is they've got these different categories for the classic games where it's like, well, this is everybody's kind of solved these, or the records are hard to beat. So now they've came up with these subcategories where they have like there's a Zelda randomizer where it's linked to the past, but all the treasure chests are changed. You never know what you're going to get, and it can totally change the path you have to play the game in. And then there is a group that does Mario 64, but you get a bingo card, and you have to find different. You have to get different objectives done, and then the first person to make one to three bingos, and then beat the game wins. So.
Oh, I would love this stuff.
Yeah, and I was kind of like, this is great to watch. It's just a fun sort of like thing to put on while you're doing something else. So. I just told you about like some speedrunning things.
Yes, so that's really cool. No, delve into that more, because that's a world that I didn't even know existed. So people come up with like time trials and like achievement style things in games, but it's like a
and then
so do they share it out to the world and like everybody kind of tries at it? Okay, cool.
Yeah,
So,
there are actually like major tournaments for those two, and specifically like the Zelda randomizer I know has like over 500 people competing in it twice a year. So
that's incredible.
Yeah, I'm like, wow, this is crazy to think of the size of some of these things that are just going on behind the scenes.
Nice. And so you're gonna get out there and try to get yourself leaderboarded.
Yeah,
and then do some Twitch stuff involving it.
Yeah, and I said my podcast was dead, but if I can get the editing down to a manageable time, maybe I'll be back into it. I've got some ideas for podcasts that I would want to do, but that editing time will always kill you.
No, exactly. So with the Zelda randomizer, have you does that include stuff from the newest games, or is it kind of?
I know there are different games being done, but I think Link to the Past is the most prominent one at the moment.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because I think it's a little bit easier to recode it, dealing with the 16-bit era than trying to do the Breath of the Wild or something.
Yeah, and then you mentioned Mario 64, and it's still amazing to be able to go back to that game and have it feel, even though there's been, numerous, unable to quantify platformers that have kind of spawned off of its innovation there. Yeah. That game is still super intuitive. Like, there's a lot of N64 and PlayStation era games that I go back to and I just can't play them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that bothers me, because I remember it being so much fun to play these games, but like games like Silent Hill and things like that I used to love are, almost impossible to play like the originals of, just because of either how slow the response time is, or, like the original Resident Evils where you were just kind of on a pivot, and I didn't like any of that going back to it. But, but Mario 64, like, you can pick it up and it plays like a Mario game does now.
Yeah, we had we do Extra Life every year, and we had one year I was like, oh, I'm going to get all 120 stars in Mario 64. And my friend's like, really? Did you practice for this? And I'm like, no. And it's like, I was doing fine until I got to the later levels. And it's like, oh, right, this game is hard. Like,
That game is really friggin' hard.
yeah, I got up to about 70 stars, and then I was like, no, I'm tired. I'm just going to beat the game now. Like,
There's that one water level where you're like in like a, I don't know, a giant warehouse that you can change the level of
Yeah.
the water.
that's
And
Dry World, yeah.
I just still have nightmares about some of the weird leaps you had to make to get the stars in that one.
Yeah.
You know, you'd have to like set the water coming so you'd get just below the surface of the water, and then it would shoot you out like a cannon at the top, and then you'd do like a kick off the wall, and it's just like, how do they expect anybody to figure this out? When I was a kid, I figured it out easy because it's just, you know, it's whimsy, it's Mario, just try it. You know.
Yeah, now there's time investment, and you're like, oh no.
So what are what are some of the other prominent games out there they do this with?
Those are the two I know specifically, but I know there's a whole community. Like there's a relay race. There's a relay race group that does Mario Maker, where like they'll make levels for each other, and then the other team will try and run like 4 guys, and you swap out every time you die.
Oh, that's awesome.
And, you know, it's just trying to get a better time. You know, and then like the other team's trying to beat your levels in a faster time. So
Oh, I love Mario Maker.
I
I haven't fooled around with the second one yet, but
yeah, it amazes me though. It's just like, because yeah, somebody will make up some kind of crazy version of a game, and then you know people get excited about it, and next thing you know, there's competitions going on about it.
that's great. And so do the competitions primarily happen in person, or is it, you know,
Oh no,
over
it's
Twitch or
it's over the internet. It's definitely. I think even the tournaments are usually done, yeah, during over online. It's usually only awesome games done quick, or summer games done quick where they're in person. That's about the only time.
I think we're super due for a wizard style movie
Oh man,
that takes place in this world, like the Twitch online or like young kid like
yeah,
esports gaming world. I don't know. I could just see, you know, like that same story, but you know, they're going across the country to be the first people to play, you know, a Borderlands download or something like that.
yeah. My friend is, yeah, that I have is a writer. He's trying to workshop a story about a fighting, you know, like a minor fighting game tournament, and I'm like, well, you know, there's a built-in audience for it already, you know, like.
Nice.
And I'm like, yeah, I'm just like, man, you know, somewhere it's gonna happen, and that's gonna take off, because you know that the fact that movie hasn't come out yet is kind of surprising.
Yeah, you know, the video game movies thing, you know, has taken at least a bit more of a serious tack than it had in the past. You know, every once in a while there's an okay one, but I'm surprised like the video game subgenre, you know, like I guess Black Mirror took on a lot of that, and some of its subtext, but you know, like more movies just where video games are you know, like the 90s brought about, you know, all the internet fear movies, and you had
Yeah.
like Hackers and Johnny Mnemonic and The Lawnmower Man and all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
I'm really surprised we haven't seen a resurgence in that. You know, like they did like Gamer.
Yeah.
It's like, okay. But
Yeah, 10 years old recently, within this month or so.
Gamer? Really?
Yeah, yeah. It was on I listened to a podcast called 30 2010, where it's just basically they talk about what happened in media 30, 20, and 10 years ago that week.
Oh,
And it's like,
that's a really good hook.
yeah, and it just came up recently, and I was like, oh, I forgot that or I forgot that movie existed. Like,
That's wild. So, you know, having known you throughout Twitter, but unfortunately, full disclosure, haven't dug in and listened to your show. Give me you know, you talked about it a little bit, but give me some ideas of like some of like your favorite topics that you guys touched on there.
I was gonna say, man, like, I came up with one after we stopped doing the podcast, and I was like, oh, that definitely should have been an episode. So I was like, what if I told you Jumanji is a movie about a child shipped off to a deep, dark jungle who comes back as an adult and is having trouble fitting into society. That's right. Jumanji is actually about Vietnam.
Oh shit.
I don't know if I'd put too much behind that's what the writer was actually thinking about, but it definitely hit me the other day, and I was like, oh, holy crap, why didn't we see this sooner?
Oh shit. No, I like this. You want to just cold call that? I'll talk about that.
Oh, man. I just, it hit me the other day, and I was like, well, I don't, it's like, I don't know
Oh
if that's what the
no.
writer, yeah.
Now Jumanji, I mean, granted, so Jumanji. Some people go back to Jumanji, which is, part of like the thing. You don't go back to Jumanji, it's part of the damn story. But some people go back to Jumanji and have a really cynical look on that first movie.
Yeah.
I don't. The thing I recognize about it as an adult that I don't remember as a kid is it's really dark.
Yeah, that's sort of what led me there was the what was his name? Alan
Yeah, Alan Parrish.
Yeah, when he's yelling at the younger boy about like, no, you just gotta toughen up and suck it up, and I was like, oh, that sounds like my parents' generation, like all the guys. And I was like, oh, that's why. Like,
so your spin, I think that fits perfect, and I would have never even thought that. So the subtext of Jumanji is this: it's someone dealing with being a Vietnam vet.
And the jungle follows him home.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
And manifests itself as, oh, boy.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Yeah. Damn. Okay. So, oh, man. And it's even in the right era.
Yeah.
It's even in the right kind of small town New England, which, by the way, it was filmed in Keene, New Hampshire.
Yeah.
And if you go there, my buddy Paul lives there, and if you go, they still have the Paris shoes insignias on the side of a couple of the buildings that they painted
really?
on there. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
Huh.
I
was gonna say, if you want a different one in happier news.
Oh, I'm just that one's shutting my brain down. Like it's like I wanna talk. I mean, even like the way he came back looking,
Yeah,
you could. That's like the look of like a POW, like a rescued POW. Like that's how they all looked in like Rambo 3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was gonna say on happier news, you can do the like we watched Speed Racer and we were kind of like talking about how maybe this movie came out about 10 years too early and that maybe now with the brighter colored Marvel movies it would be accepted.
I think that's 100% true.
But my main question is, do you think it's the Mario Kart movie we're never going to get?
Ooh.
Because I was thinking like all these bright colors, all this, cars don't behave that way, but I'm okay with this. It's like I'm willing to see, I'm willing to excuse that because this is so much fun.
Yeah, my fear is if now someone's going to hear this and try to make a Mario Kart movie, especially because the Fast and the Furious is popular, and we're just going to get a Mario Brothers Fast and the Furious movie, which I would watch the hell out of. But yeah. I think Speed Racer, you're right. Speed Racer already made it. They already made the Mario Kart movie.
I was going to say, Nintendo, call me. I've got some pitch ideas for you. The princesses definitely need to be in a biker gang. That's all I know.
All the Mario... the Fast and the Furious, Mario and Luigi.
Yeah. Yeah, let's see. I wrote down a couple just in case they came up.
No, please. This is how this works, right? We started in video games. I didn't think I'd be talking about Twitch...
speed running,
and I love it, and I want to do it now.
Okay, so this is my wife's, but I love it so much I had to throw it in here. We did The Usual Suspects. It was after the Spacey allegations had come out. I don't know. Should I say allegations?
I guess after the world accepted that Kevin Spacey was a fuckwad and didn't just think it. Yeah.
Well, her premise, the way she summed up the movie was, a man spins a detailed story about being a victim when he's really the criminal mastermind. Yeah.
Oh, and that just, especially with Kevin Spacey going through his thing, and then with Bryan Singer
Yeah.
Finally. Oh God, that just ruins that movie.
Yeah.
Oh, it's such a good movie too.
Yeah, we did have a couple like that where it was just like you'd watch a movie critically and it's just like, oh, I'm gonna have to take a while before I ever come back to this.
Yeah,
Like
especially when subtext changes, right? Like you go
yeah,
back to a lot of like Woody Allen's and Roman Polanski's stuff
oof,
with the
yeah,
knowledge you have of them, and you go, "Oh, this
yeah,
is good."
yeah. I do it. We got towards the end of the podcast. It got to be a thing where it was like, oh, take a shot. It's another Weinstein film. It's like, or they were just tangentially involved. So it's like it's like take a shot. He's involved. Like, yeah.
I watched something the other day that it I had no I'm gonna forget. It was like some kids movie that had popped up at the beginning. Harvey and Bob Weinstein present. And I
Oh
just went,
man.
wait a minute, what?
I'm trying to think because yeah, they went there. I was trying to think of what it would be because they were primarily Miramax, but they sort of knew everybody. So
I think it wasn't a Disney movie. It was crap.
it wouldn't have been like a really early DreamWorks film, would it?
I think it was something like that. Yeah.
Would we want to guess maybe Prince of Egypt?
That's the one I was thinking, but that's not what I was watching.
Oh,
It
okay.
was like I think it. I'm gonna lose it, but I think it came up like just on TV, like
Hmm.
one of the channels my daughter was watching. No, it was a Nickelodeon movie.
Okay.
It was a Nickelodeon movie.
This is a long way to go for you to put Jimmy Neutron into the story.
Ha! No, 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 no. That would yes, yes. No, if Harvey and Bob Weinstein had made Jimmy Neutron, it would have had all the subtitles that we gave it. Erotic, gorgeous.
I hope some people have heard the backstory on that. I hope they're not just hearing you say that for the first time.
Oh, you mean yeah, right. The critics agree. It's 90 minutes long. More fun than sleeping on the wet spot. Oh, we had way too much fun with that.
Yeah.
Oh God,
Just,
you saw the picture of that thing, right? I posted
did.
that.
I tried to zoom in, and it was like I'm trying to read cursive, 20-year-old or not 20-year-old, what 15-year-old Sharpie writing, and I'm like, okay, let's see here.
We showed that to one of our assistant managers. I think it was Michelle, and she just went, "Oh God, we didn't destroy that fucking thing." And we're like, "No, we gave it to Steve as a wedding present, and then he gave it to me."
It amazes me how much memorabilia you got back from that store.
Oh my God! And there's some other people that have an even crazier amount.
Yeah.
This guy Alvy Taylor, who runs the Blockbuster Facebook page.
Yeah, he had all the teardown stuff.
Yeah, he's got all kinds of cool stuff.
Yeah, I was listening to it and I'm like, yeah, I never worked there, but it was the place where I started getting into film. So it's or at least like going outside what my parents were buying.
Right.
So it's like, it is a portion of my life, but I was just a customer, but it's like, yeah, there's a part of me that's a little nostalgic for the early days of Blockbuster, and there's a part of me who's still pissed off at the late days of Blockbuster.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, aren't we all?
Yeah.
Aren't we all? So oh man, so that's some cool stuff.
Yeah.
What else? What else? You got anything else that sticks out from your show, even if it was something you already covered?
Oh, we were talking about video games.
Yeah.
We did an episode where we were looking at basically Roger Ebert was never a fan of video game movies and not a fan of video games at all. So we did an episode where we were trying to see if we agreed with him and like saw it from his point of view. And I remember like it came down to me thinking like I said pretty early on the episode, I was like, really, if there's anybody who should get a free pass on not liking video games, it's Roger Ebert. He's had to sit through every bad video game movie that's come out.
Yeah, he's one of the few people I wouldn't have batted an eye at. Also, if he was still alive, I bet you he'd be one of the critics spouting off the superhero fatigue thing, and I'd let him have a pass on it. It's like, you have to watch them all, dude. I get it. But also he gave Spawn 3.5 stars.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say nobody's infallible.
Yeah.
Um,
I always enjoyed Roger Ebert's Your Movie Sucks book. That one cracked me up.
yeah,
Where he attempts to backpedal a little bit but won't apologize to Rob Reiner for his horrific review of the movie North.
yeah, we all saw North. It's he's fine.
I
I'm not.
hate this movie.
It's not as bad as what was it? Was the who was the guy Roper who took over?
Yeah. No, Roper. Yeah, because Roper was his. Yeah. Roper took over for Siskel.
Yeah. Roper had a review for what was that movie? It was like movie 42 or something like 10
Movie
years ago.
43.
Yeah. He did this beautiful review where he was like, when I started reviewing movies, I was given a pill, and I was told that this pill would delete the memory of only one movie in my lifetime. And he's like, so I waited and didn't use this pill. And then he like goes through this huge epic story. And the review ends with him going, I put the pill in my mouth and swallowed and immediately yelled, God damn it, it didn't work.
That's awesome.
I was like, wow. Like
He had a good one every once in a while.
I was just like, I couldn't believe some reviewer had gone that far to tell you how bad this movie was. I was like, granted, I wasn't going to go see it, but
I watched movie 43.
did you pay theater prices for it?
No.
There's a big difference there. Then.
No, I watched a stolen copy of it. Full disclosure. It's something. It's something. It wants to be the Kentucky Fried Movie, and I think even one of the Zucker brothers may have, the now broken Zucker brothers may have directed one bit in it.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where, like, have you seen it?
I have not.
So it's one of those things where each of them, like, the movie has this problem where you can see where on paper these things were clever.
Yeah.
And it SNL skits them to death. So it does the joke too far. Like one of them has Christopher Mintz-Plasse, McLovin, and the girl what's her name? Hit girl from
Chloe
Grace Moretz.
Yes.
And
it was important that they each have three names for this skit.
And they're having intercourse for the first time, I believe, and she ends up bleeding as does happen, but it goes to like horrific, like
it's like
Kill Bill level.
I was gonna say it's like Scary Movie levels.
Yeah, and it just doesn't stop, and it's like, all right, this is pretty funny, but they just beat the joke to death.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, damn it, like that could have been really good, and it's not.
Nightmare on Elm Street, that was the
yes, like.
Yeah.
Hey, right back to the right quote, wrong movie.
Yeah.
That might have been the one we didn't record. I don't remember.
Yeah.
No, but yeah. So God. So that's wild. So how did we get to Roger Ebert? Or we're talking about video game movies.
Yeah. I can just scroll like our website, and it was like there were a ton of it. Like I loved recording that show. And like sometimes it was just fun to see, because the concept was every episode we'd change who got to pick what we were watching and what the concept was, and it was just fun. Sometimes you never knew what to expect, and it's like I would try and keep it from people. We had times where it was just like one time we accidentally had 3 episodes in a row that were murder mysteries.
Nice.
Where we followed up The Thin Man with Agatha Christie's, and then there were none. And then followed that up with Nancy Drew and the Hardy Boys, both the first books of those.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it was like, wow, we all picked older murder mysteries. Weird, and it's just, so we inadvertently would have themes for sometimes, but then like Halloween and Christmas were always themed. We do something spooky for Halloween and do something, some Christmas movie for Christmas, even if it was Black Christmas.
Black Christmas or Rare Exports.
Yeah.
So
Rare Exports, but
Have you seen Rare Exports?
I have not.
Oh, it's amazing, but it's
I think you've mentioned it on here
Really
before.
uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So many naked old men. So yeah, though that's a cool segue into something. So have you seen anything since your show that is something that you'd be interested in talking about in that format that like you don't have a chance to, so we could, because while you're thinking of that, I just watched something. So Scott Wampler, critic, birth movies, death guy, he recommended a movie called Lake Mungo. Have you heard of this?
Oh.
So Lake Mungo, this thing, it's on Amazon Prime. This movie blew me away, and since you haven't seen it, I won't give away any of its hand. But have you ever heard of the movie Searching that came out this past year?
I must admit, man, I am so behind.
No,
especially-
that's okay. I'm just so Searching. I'll give this as a chance to recommend Searching to you as well, because you were talking about murder mysteries, and that's what made it spark into. So Search is Harold and Sue,
Oh, okay.
and he written it.
You're cutting up just a bit here.
Hear me?
Yeah, I got Harold, and then it like all went to crap.
All right, he's Harold.
Yeah.
Kurt.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's your internet. I got.
All right, we'll give it a second.
Yeah.
We'll give it a second.
Huh.
Are we sounding any better?
Yeah, you are now.
All right, cool. Every once in a while it hiccups. So
Yeah.
anyway, so as a Searching stars John Cho, who's Harold from Harold and Kumar, and Sulu from the new Star Trek movies. And the idea of this movie is his daughter goes missing.
Mm-hmm.
And the entire film is done from his computer screen. So it's him like looking at closed circuit TV videos that the cops are sending to him of like, a car that his daughter might have been in, and him like reverse password finding to like log into her a Gmail and Facebook and Twitter to like, figure out what might have happened. And it is terrifying. There's nothing really terrifying that happens in it. It's just terrifying because he starts learning more and more and more about his daughter and like how little he actually knew about her, and like events of like, characters, like the wife in the early stages of the movie is out of the picture because she gets sick and dies. And they do that whole thing with like a Google Calendar, like first appointment for chemotherapy. And you're like, oh shit. And then like 6 months chemotherapy anniversary. And then that calendar gets taken and dropped into the recycle bin. And you're like, oh, I know exactly what happened now, and it's just brilliantly done. And so Lake Mungo is in a very similar vein, but it's a horror movie. And so instead of it, well, it's a horror, like suspense, like ghost story kind of a movie. So whereas Searching is like a suspense movie, like, it all happens in the real world, real stakes.
Yeah.
The thing with Lake Mungo is they frame it like a 2020 special or an episode of Unsolved Mysteries. So it's found footage, but it's like dramatized found footage. So they play around with that, like you're watching like a news report. You know what I mean? Or a fake or a documentary about this instead of like seeing the real events happen. So the whole thing is done in interviews after the fact and then recreations.
Wow.
And so it's a really clever way of doing it. And the idea of Lake Mungo is a family goes on a daycation to a dam, and the daughter and son are swimming in the lake, and the son gets out to dry off and the daughter doesn't come back. And so they assume she's drowned. And they find the body, and the father goes and identifies the body. And then weird stuff starts happening around the house. They start like hearing things. The mom never got to positively ID the body because she was distraught and didn't want to. So then she starts questioning if it was actually their daughter, and maybe she's actually alive. And then when they exhume the body and do a DNA test, all of a sudden photos start showing up around the house of like things that were taken after the girl passed, but she's in them,
Huh.
and stuff. And it's just, what's cool about it is that the movie keeps, because it's playing like, because they stick you in a situation where you're supposed to be watching something that's set up to leave you in suspense and like, keep you guessing. It's done that same way. So okay, cool, this is going to be the stinger that pulls the rug out from under me. And they do that, like, oh, but those photos were actually doctored by the son because he couldn't handle the daughter being gone. But then you as the audience notice something that the characters in the movie don't. And so it's like this really cool, like they're playing the format against you. And I haven't seen found footage really done that way.
Yeah. These
where
both sound really cool.
Yeah,
I want to try these out now.
And so, and again, neither one of them deals with very light subject matter. Like searching, I really liked because it's not what you think. Like the movie starts unraveling, and you go, "Oh, I see where this is going," and this dad really isn't a great person, and the daughter doesn't seem like she's really a great person, and they do a lot of subversion of those expectations, let's just say. Lake Mungo does the same kind of thing, but then shows its hand at what genre it's in the very last minutes. I'll just leave it at that. So I kind of went, oh, great job, movie. And then there was another one that was very similar in vein, if you haven't seen it, called, what was it called? It's called I just had it. Oh, what do you call it when somebody is cut open after they die? And
autopsy.
Yeah, the autopsy of Jane Doe.
Oh, okay.
And if you've never heard of that one, check that one out. That's it. They're all in a very similar vein of, they make you think they're doing one thing, but it's really something else.
Yeah.
But anyway, what were you gonna throw out there?
Oh, I was curious. I don't have a thesis statement for it, but I was curious if you were gotten to see Ready or Not yet.
No, I haven't.
Oh my God.
I have to.
Yeah, it's a load of fun. I was not sure what to expect going into it. I didn't even bother seeing the trailer because we had already, my wife and my friends were already like, we're gonna go see this. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go see it too then. Like,
yeah, it sounds right up my alley. I haven't seen a single trailer for it either. I've only read the quick description of what it's about.
Yeah, I really like, I really was ashamed that we ended the podcast before we got to do Us, because for big movie releases, we tried to like go out to the theater and go see them and then try and record an episode quickly after they came out. And I was like, that one would have been right up our alley. But we all three of us did go see it opening weekend. So
I have an episode of a show that I won't say what it is because it'll be a spoiler for their upcoming releases of shows, but I did an episode on Us with it to celebrate it coming out on DVD.
Oh man. And
that was the episode of that show was very, very good, and I absolutely love that movie. So
yeah, that I was really impressed at how much like I was like, I left that movie theater being like, I don't know if I enjoyed that. And then the more I thought about it, the more I was like, oh wait, this means this. If this means this, just like sitting there having all these theories and like, oh man, now, it's like it's one of the few movies I think the post game was more fun than the actual.
Yeah, my favorite thing about the movie is its ending feels so cheap until you think about it.
Yeah,
like I sat there and I went, this movie was so masterfully made, and then they had to go and pull, and then I went, no, that's not a cheap ending at all. That's the ending they were leading up to the whole time. And like, you just had to give it like a half an hour. You just got to give the movie like a half an hour, and then you go, oh shit, right? Yeah. No way. It's such a layered, intense little fucking movie.
Yeah, I was. With that one coming out, I was really like, man, if he can pull, I was like, or after coming out of that and enjoying it so much, I was like, boy, who's the last like promising director I can remember who beat the sophomore slump, And then I was like, oh, Shyamalan, wasn't it? Well,
It was definitely Shyamalan, but
and
yeah,
then I was like, okay, good luck. Good luck, man. Hope you can get past that hump next. Kind of.
I will say that my hopes are that Jordan Peele is he carries himself far less pretentious and more self-aware than
Yeah.
Shyamalan did. Shyamalan hit the ground running with the mysterious, you don't really know what's going on with me thing,
Mhm.
and he got way too caught up in it.
I it's a shame
really
if he had a better, like, if he had somebody helping him. I think he does good stuff when I think he aims a little smaller, actually.
yes, and Blumhouse I think has helped him a lot.
Yeah.
But again, he got a little too big for his britches with Glass. Even though I really enjoy Glass, it doesn't quite hit its mark. But I'd rather have a movie of his that doesn't quite hit its mark that I still enjoyed. Unlike The Happening, which is just a miserable experience for everybody involved. But I really liked Split because it's like you said, it's really small. It tries something really small.
Yeah,
And
unfortunately, I got spoiled on what the twist of the movie was because
well, it's funny. I had told my brother when I saw the trailer, I've always wanted Shyamalan to do another Unbreakable. And damned if there's not something in this trailer that's giving me an Unbreakable vibe. And he goes, "How did you figure that out?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" And he goes, "I've seen it already, dude. You hit the nail on the head." I go, "I did?" He's
Oh,
like,
man.
"Yeah, yeah." And I was like, "Oh, yes, I did it."
I loved Unbreakable so much, and that was another episode I wish we would have done. Is well, I'll get to that in a second, but like, I wish I would have gone into Split not knowing that it was a sequel.
It's so masterfully
I know, but
um
just
shows its hand right at the end there, and I
I just
loved that about it.
I just really would have loved to have not known going in, and like I usually don't care about like having an ending spoiled for me because it's about the journey, but that was one where it's just I was such a fan of the original. Oh, what I was going to say though is that I really would like to have done an episode on uh, the pre X-Men, pre Spider-Man world, when the world was so starved for superhero movies, and we had like Unbreakable came out and Mystery Men was making a surprising amount of money.
Oh, Mystery Man.
Yeah, but there were all these superhero films that were making, pretty good money, and it's like, man, that was a world that was starved for superhero movies, and it was like, and now it's like it's crazy to think about like well, I don't know if Darkman could, just suddenly appear someday and actually do well in this environment now, or if it would be
Oh yeah,
buried.
no. Darkman. If Darkman had come out 3 months after Deadpool,
Oh my
Darkman would have
God.
made a killing. Do you know what I mean?
Okay, that's a pretty good.
Or Logan, or if it came out 3 months after Logan, even for that matter,
Yeah,
it would have made a
that-
killing.
Yeah.
Es- it's funny that you mentioned that because I remember going and seeing Spider-Man, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, and we were very starved for superhero movies because the
Mhm.
X-Men movies had taken the ultra realism approach, and I remember watching that and coming out of it and going, I would love if we could just get like 20 of these and every like 10th one is like a big sequel, and the ones in the middle are like low budget, like B grade, like Peter Parker stories. And I love that the movies and the TV shows, which are getting better, but the movies have accepted that as kind of like, it doesn't always have to be, the big
Yeah.
the big tentpole thing every 15 minutes. And I
So
think that
you're telling me you found a magic lamp in the bathroom in between
right.
movies? Yeah.
No. It's funny because it was a conversation I was having with my buddy, and there's my daughter being awake and upset again. All right. Well, I'm gonna say, even though it's a bummer to do it, that I'm gonna end this one on
That's
that
fair.
note. And I would like to have you back on like as soon as like next week if you can find a date that works. So let me know. Because
I'll have to look through my schedule.
Yes.
I think we're out. I think we're taking a trip next weekend. So
cool. Just a heads up. I'm letting you know. But thank
right.
you so much, and thank you for putting up with me and the wacky recording tonight. But I really appreciate it, and I can't wait to have you back on. All right, Kurt.
Hey, no problem.
All
See you
right.
next time.
Thank you for shooting the shit, and I'll talk to you soon.
Take care.
Bye.